Trish and Rob MacGregor welcome you to a place where all kinds of phenomena flourish. Here we meet authors, researchers, and investigators of the mysterious, the strange, and of the inexplicable anomalies that surround us. Step out of the everyday world and take a journey into the mystical underground.
And if you guys are ready, we'll start in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Mystical Underground. Thank you for joining us. This is Rob MacGregor
And Trish.
and our producer and tech magician, John Posey, also known as the Mysterious Disembodied Voice. You can go to themysticalunderground.com where we make regular blog posts and where you can find out about our books. Among them are The 7 Secrets of Synchronicity, Sensing the Future, The Secrets of Spirit Communication, and Aliens in the Backyard. Our latest book is called Mind-Blowing Synchronicities, the latest science stories and research. Trish's latest novel is Not Quite Human. Rob's most recent novel is called Tulpas, a story of mysterious beings created through deep meditation. If you are watching us on YouTube, we would appreciate it if you would take a second to click the like, subscribe, and notification buttons so you never miss an episode. If you prefer to listen to the show, it is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe there.
Our guest today is Matt Evans, an equine veterinarian who graduated from Texas A&M University and now practices outside of Austin, Texas. In addition to being a horse doctor, Matt is also a stand-up comedian who performs shows all around Austin and beyond. He and his wife of 25 years have 2 daughters. Matt also paints oil landscapes and horse portraits, but he says he's a better writer and comic than a painter. He's the author of Chomping at the Bit, which comes out in September. Welcome, Matt. I've been anticipating this.
Great. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here. I've been looking forward to it, too.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question that may seem strange. Okay, why did you become a horse vet instead of like a dog or a cat vet?
No, that's a good question. I had worked in a dog and a cat vet in high school, and I wasn't real crazy about kind of the pace and the indoor all day lifestyle of that. And so when I decided I wanted to become a veterinarian, I thought I would be the Texas version of James Herriot. I thought I would, see all the animals. But then, you start to learn about what that actually looks like, and that wasn't really what I was after. And so then I was kind of at a loss for what I wanted to do. I thought maybe wildlife medicine, but there's not a lot of opportunities in that. It's very interesting, but, it's not super easy to break into. And then, they expose you to everything. And then when I first was exposed to horses, I was like, oh, these are fascinating animals. There's a deep connection between humans and horses. It goes back for, a really long time, thousands of years have we been together. And I think that's just built into our DNA. So immediately I was like, oh, I love this. I want to be around this animal. And then, of course, everybody who was in earshot was like, no, if you weren't raised around horses, you can't work on them. So then I had to, I'm hard-headed. So then I was like, well, I have to prove these people wrong.
So, Matt, you said the British veterinarian and author James Herriot inspired you to become a vet. How did he also inspire you to write your book?
Absolutely. Yes, it was reading his book that inspired me to be a vet in high school. But then, I was doing stand-up comedy already, so I'd kind of gotten the bug for writing. I enjoyed sitting down with my notebook and writing, and then COVID happened, and there was no stand-up happening. And so I was like, I want to write some stories. So when everybody says, write what you know. But, he had obviously already cast the die for, like, there's an interest and a market for veterinary stories, so I had an idea, not that I was writing them to sell to start with, but I just had an idea that if I wrote them and I wrote them well enough, people might want to read them somewhere at some point. So I've copied James Herriot all my life.
Well, let me is Austin an equestrian area?
It is. It's not originally an equestrian area. One of the many of millions of fortuitous things that happened to me is that we started Austin Equine in 2004 and 2005, and that was right in the heyday of Austin starting to boom. And so, I grew up in Austin, and it was a little hippie college town with a university and the capital, and it was a fun place to live. But it wasn't. I don't think a super affluent community. And then things really changed starting in the late 90s, early 2000s, and Austin hit the tipping point where, because, to have a lot of horses around, you need a lot of people with a lot of money. So that way,
Sure do.
a few of them will get a horse instead of a Ferrari or a pool but it's Austin is beautiful country, but it's not horse country. The east of town is better horse country. We've got some sandy soil and actually does that thing where it rains and they grow grass. But where my practice is stunning. It's the hill country. People love to look at it, but it is limestone and cedar bushes. Nobody in the right mind would have a horse here. But
Because we live in an equestrian community. Not that we're equestrians. We just ended up here.
Yeah,
And
typically, you don't have one horse either. You usually have at least two, because they
plus a lot of
they don't do well alone by themselves. They're looking for
they are herd animals for sure. They don't do. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend anybody do that to a horse. Get a horse by themselves. So where are y'all? Y'all are in Florida. Y'all are
we're in Wellington.
Wellington, Florida, which is outside of West Palm Beach, west of West Palm Beach, and so it's a winter equestrian and polo center.
Right.
People
absolutely
come all over the world here and really jam up the
traffic and the restaurants.
the roads.
I can imagine. I have colleagues that travel up and down the East Coast. That they follow that circuit. They stay in, so which is a hard way to. I can't imagine how you just pick up and move your life, but they do it. So
Matt, you could come here and work on horses. I get to be a person.
Maybe I'll. What I would like to do is stop by and do, like, maybe in the winter when they're there. I would love to come and do like some stand-up comedy and do a talk about my book. That'd be good.
Yeah,
we could meet
that'd be cool
in person. Yeah, that'd be a good audience for my book too.
Yeah, it sure would. It comes out September 8th, right?
That's correct. Yeah, September 8th.
Chomping at the bit, folks. It is a good book.
Now, are the horses you deal with are they people who are involved are they Western riders or equestrian?
It's we see mostly show horses at our practice, and Austin's an interesting little slice of Texas, little circle of Texas where we have a lot of English riders. And that happens outside of all the big cities, but and a little bit of that's just kind of the practice that we made, that we attract more of that. We have a lot. I would say the largest discipline we have is hunter jumpers, which is an English discipline, and then dressage. We have a lot of Arabian show horses, and we certainly see a lot of Western show horses. But people picture Texas and they picture Taylor Sheridan's cowboy hats and Raiders, and that exists in Texas, but not really in our area.
Yeah, we have all the English stuff plus polo, but not much of the Western riding.
Interesting, yeah. And we don't have any polo at all, really, hardly to speak of.
Okay.
Yeah, the polo people come from South America.
Right, Argentinians, right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We got an Argentinian restaurant within walking distance of our house, actually.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds great. Yeah.
And she loves dogs. So everybody can bring dogs.
We can bring the dog either outside or inside the restaurant, which is
really?
Dog menu,
which is usually rare here. When you to allow them inside. And
now Argentinian food, I haven't had much of that. What is that, like? Pupusas? Empanadas, yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
It's more for like people who like steaks, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Lots of meat.
Yeah, because that's a cattle country in Argentina. So
right.
Yeah. So when did you get into stand-up comedy? How did that start?
I think I tried it a few times, like around 2013, 2015 or so. I had always loved stand-up comedy, but then, it didn't occur to me that regular people could do it. I thought that, you would, growing up, I watched Maria Bamford and a young Adam Sandler on Comedy Central, and I thought, well, these people were made in a factory, obviously. This is not. But then I moved to Austin, and it had a fun comedy scene, and then I just happened to run into a few people that were normal humans that were doing comedy, and I thought, well, I would love to try this too, and so I went and did a few open mics, which is nobody's ever been to a comedy open mic. Good for you. It's it's an experience. It's they're good for like the practice of getting on stage and learning to talk into a microphone and what it feels like to have the lights in your eyes. But
right.
It's mostly like a social scene. No, nobody laughs. Nobody's even paying attention. Yeah, what I found was like, I was younger than I am now, but I was already the old guy on the scene. So I'd show up and nobody really wanted to talk to me. And then they would put me last, and then everybody else would do their sets and laugh at their buddies' jokes, specifically the worst jokes they could tell. And then they go outside and smoke cigarettes and pot while I do my comedy set to an empty room. So I thought I would give up, I was like, well, that was fun, but that's not for me. I'm never going to make it out of that. But then I got a chance to do comedy at our big equine practitioners or the equine veterinarians meeting. Yeah. And so just, another piece of synchronicity, I should have kept my mouth shut, but somebody, was like, hey, we heard you do stand-up comedy. And it's like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And so, a big crowd of my peers, which was terrifying, but first time I ever had a crowd listening to me do comedy. And every comic has this story where their first real set goes well, or else we would all quit. Nobody would keep going. It didn't go well. So my first set went well. Yeah.
So you did this among a bunch of vets then. Did you have any animal jokes to give them?
Oh, it was 10 minutes straight of solid horse vet humor and like inside baseball too, like nothing that any layperson would find amusing at all. So, which was great. Those were easy jokes to write. They were a friendly audience.
Right.
So I had a great experience. Trish mentioned that I paint, and I had painted at that point for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, and people were nice about my paintings. They'd be like, oh, that's nice. But nobody ever gushed over them. But I did that comedy set, and everybody stood in line to tell me what a great job I did. And I thought I might be better at comedy than I am painting.
Now this was at Austin.
They moved that big meeting around, and one of the places it hits all the time is San Antonio. So that was in San Antonio that year. Yeah, yeah.
So you're well known in Texas.
Yeah, I'm well known in Texas and well known. I am the only equine veterinarian stand-up comedian there is.
That's great.
I'm a one and done. So I do that conference every year, and it's been, I've done it 9 years now, and it's been. So I have a good following, I guess. I don't know if you call it following. That makes me feel I sound arrogant. Yeah. But yeah, and I try to write a new 10 minutes for it every year. So I've got an hour and a half of horse vet only jokes that are useless outside of that conference.
Tell us one of them.
Oh, gosh, I don't even know if it would make sense to you. Yeah, they're all such inside baseball. The one I did was like my opening one that I can still kind of remember is that I had a joke that if I died and go to hell, I'll be on call every night, and every night Satan will call and he's got a newborn foal. That's my least favorite kind of emergency. Because, a newborn foal that can't nurse, because you don't need a veterinarian, you need like a lactation consultant, right? There's not like I can't give them a shot to make them nurse. So, and I drag it out and do, a bunch of classic client tropes. But the idea that I'm in Satan's barn trying to get this foal to nurse. And I'm not Satan's regular vet. He just called me on emergency.
Matt, there's an unusual job here that some people have in the winter during the horse season, is that they just go into these barns and sit and watch the horses all night long. They're paid to watch these multi-million-dollar horses and make sure they're okay, And
right.
And we knew somebody who did this, who had arrangements for a number of horses. So she would hire some kid to go there, a high school student, and pay him $100 a night and still make more.
I love that. She's smart. Oh,
yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah,
as long as nobody showed up.
they're not checking, but I guess as long as nothing happens to the horses,
Right. Yeah.
It's risky business she's doing, but I bet it worked out for her.
Yeah, she was always on call, So.
That's right.
Yeah, Meg did that for her one night.
Did she?
Oh, she did.
So.
Yeah.
And
they're mostly fine, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about Chomping at the Bit. You got some humor in there, I hope.
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. Trish helped me so much with that book. So she was one of my original editors. So thank you so much, Trish. And
I just love it.
Thank you.
And I kept thinking, okay, Paula, hurry up, sell this book.
I know. Me too. We were waiting. So it's got a lot of humor in it. You know, we pitched it as James Herriot meets David Sedaris. That's very lofty people to be compared to. I think I'm sillier than David Sedaris. Trish could probably speak to that. There's some Dave Barry in there, maybe. Yeah. I think a little bit, yeah. Or people that y'all have got a reading audience, I would imagine. But if I'm pitching it to a non-reading audience, I'll tell them All Creatures Great and Small, the TV show meets Scrubs, TV show. And so, it's got a lot of built-in jokes. There should be laugh out loud moments for people, but it's not just a book of unassociated essays. It follows the arc of me deciding to become a veterinarian, deciding I wanted to work on horses, and that's basically the hero's journey of I bite off more than I can chew. That's where we get, and then I have to work my way out, and it comes to a moment of crisis that I don't want to give away, and then with resolution.
and just real quick, disembodied voice of John. Scrubs. You just sold me on it. So let's do it.
Awesome. Good. That's a good
fan
thing.
of Scrubs. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got that kind of idea. I love a weird segue or to run off on a bunny trail. So that Scrubs idea where he stops, he starts to get in his own head. I like that, and I include that in the book.
Yeah. So, John, where are you going tomorrow night, did you say? John?
Wait, yep. Sorry. Synchronicity. I'm going to go see Jerry Seinfeld tomorrow night here in town.
Oh, wow.
He's coming in. So, I don't, so hopefully, if you like Scrubs, then probably you were a fan of Seinfeld. So, yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he's such I love his stand-up too. He's, just the master of observational humor, which I really like that style, just to take, something that he sees that everybody sees, but he points it out and makes it funny, and he's just a master joke writer. So you'll have a great time.
Well, and as long as we're talking about it, because I've actually seen him once before at the Beacon in New York, and not on the bill. Steve Martin comes out and does 20 minutes before Seinfeld, and that was and played banjo for about 10 to 12 minutes of that. Well, about half of it, which if Steve Martin, if there's such a thing as a world-class banjo player, he is a world-class banjo player. But had no idea that Steve Martin was going to come out. And then, Seinfeld just absolutely blew the roof off the place. So, I can't wait to see him again tomorrow night. So, right.
That'll be fun.
Yeah,
Steve Martin, I'm too young to have been around for his heyday and his humor, I kind of missed the boat on what was so great about his stand-up, but I read his book Born Standing Up, and I loved that. That was a really well-written, that was, I think, in the back of my mind somewhere, probably an inspiration for my memoir too. I loved the way he told that story, and so
do you ever experience stage fright?
Yes, for sure. The first time we have a competition in Austin called Funniest Person in Austin. So about 2019, I finally got up the nerve to sign up for it. And, it's at the big comedy club in town. It's not a huge room, but there's 300 people and it's packed in there. And
big enough.
The comic before me was just, killing. Just, she had him roaring, and I realized it was going to be my turn in a minute. It's like, I don't think I can feel my hands anymore. But you get up there and you get that first laugh and then you're off and running. And that's part of the pull of it. I had my Apple Watch on the other day before I went on a show. It was a good show, and the comic before me was doing well, and my Apple Watch asked me, "Are you exercising?"
Stand up. Time to stand up.
Yeah, mine says that time to stand up. That's perfect for our comic.
Exactly. Time to stand up.
Well,
and tell some jokes.
And OS 27 is going to be even more entertaining than the current version of Siri. It's coming. So
it's coming. All right.
Siri's going to have a much more interesting personality in the next come this fall. So
How do you know that, John?
Because they invested in so they're using Apple basically is licensing Gemini to for the back end on series. So yeah, it's coming. So yeah, it's on its way. Yep.
Fun.
Interesting. Okay. Now, have you ever delivered a foal?
That's a great question. You would think I would have delivered some. We're not in a big breeding area for one thing. Like I was saying, it's not really horse country. People buy mature horses and show them. We do have some horse breeders. Here's the deal: a foal has to be born after the induction of stage 2 labor, real labor. They have to be born within about 30 minutes. And then they get up and they stand up within about 2 hours, a half an hour to 2 hours, and then they're nursing. And, that makes sense when you think about how horses evolved. They're out on the open plains and the herd's moving. Yeah. They don't have time to. And so with a horse, most births are uncomplicated because they've evolved to have simple, uncomplicated births. And when they go wrong, they go really wrong. I don't want to bring your listeners down, but by the time somebody calls me, I get there. It's never a good thing, by the time just the act of me leaving my house, getting to the barn and all that, they've been in stage 2 labor too long. And so, we've had them at the clinic to foal out, but I've always either had an intern on call or, some other doctor's been on call. And so 23 years later, I've dealt with a lot of problem births, for sure, and been involved in C-sections and distortions of all kinds. But never seen a live foal born. I get there and they're out, and I'm like, look at that slimy thing trying to stand up.
Have you ever gotten kicked?
Oh, a little bit of bumps here and there, but never really bad, never broken a limb or anything like that. And that's one of the. I have a lot of colleagues that were born on horseback. Talk about that's where their mom delivered. Just right on horseback, and they've been around forever, and that leads to a comfortability around horses that I never obtained, of course. And they get kicked all the time because they put themselves in all kind of stupid situations. So My relationship with horses is very much that I'm their doctor and their caretaker, and so I'm very professional and careful with them in that way. Whereas, they're used to their own horses, and so they'll put themselves in a bad situation, get kicked by a strange horse, and they're always shocked by it. It's like, well, why were you standing back there?
Our daughter was a rider when she was young here in Wellington, and we used to go watch her. And one particular time, I picked up a white plastic chair, and there's a horse on the other side of the fence, and got freaked out by that chair, I guess. I put the chair down, sat down, and that horse kicked that fence right behind my head. And if that fence hadn't been there, that would have knocked me out or killed me. It was a power. I felt it. I was, a few inches away from a couple inches away from the fence, and it's still, it was a shock. It was a.
No, it's so much power. They weigh 1,200, or if that was a warm blood, 1,500 pounds. Think of the muscle mass back there. Yeah. It's such an explosive animal. Yeah, a lot of respect for them, which is part of what draws us to them, right? They're just amazing.
Did you ever ride yourself?
No, I didn't. I didn't grow up riding at all. And then, I have ridden, but, I got very interested in horses, but I was in veterinary school. I had no time and I had no money. And then I got out and got a job, and I had no time, and we started a practice. That's a loop that we stay on. And now I have some time and money, and I want to do comedy and paint, write books. And so I think I'm going to miss the boat on that. The other thing I tell people is that this is semi-embarrassing, but I'm afraid of heights, and the older I get, the older I get, that horseback is plenty high. No, thank you.
Yeah, I remember being on a horseback on a bridge, and the horse leaned down to start chewing on something on the edge of the bridge, and I'm looking down.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we'll hike in West Texas. We were on the trail up to the highest peak in Texas, Guadalupe Peak, and we got passed by some folks on mules, and I was looking at those mules on the side of that trail, and I thought, not for me. No, thank you.
Well, and real quick, just talking about being around a horse. I dated a girl that had a horse, and we went to, she took me out to a stall one time, and she was feeding him, and she took the bucket away, and he started to. I don't know why. I don't remember the I don't remember the gory details, but when she took the feed away from him, he stumbled and started to fall, and we were in a stall with him. And yes, you learn real quick. 1,200 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a lot of animal. Luckily he didn't fall, but yeah, it was. But yeah, I was like, yeah, I can't. There's nowhere to go.
That's scary thing.
Yep. So sorry.
Tight place with a horse. Yeah, for sure.
Rob, where was it we rented horses? Was it in Aruba?
Oh, every country we went to with Megan when she was young, she always wanted to rent go horseback riding. Different places. I remember it was, I think it was Dominican Republic. She wanted to go riding on the beach, which was cool, riding right along the beach. But the guy who led us, he said, you got to go. Watch this next around the next curve. Well, it was a nude beach, and we go through there, and everybody gets up and runs into the water. As 4 people on horses come charging, galloping down the beach. That was
his entertainment for the day. Yeah, gosh, I don't know if I would have wanted to see that. A bunch of naked people run from the water. It's never the people you want on the nude beaches, I'd imagine.
That's difficult, yeah.
Now, what do you think has been the most difficult thing of being a vet?
There's a lot about it that can be really hard and painful. You get into it because you love animals, and then you're in a position where you lose animals, and you have a case that sometimes it's just unavoidable, but there's always cases that just keep you up every night for years, wondering what if I had done this, what if I had done that, and that's really painful to deal with. And the other thing that I think shocks a lot of people as they get into veterinary medicine is that we do a show of hands from your audience listener. Who here likes the dentist? Who here likes to go to the doctor? Who here is excited to see your proctologist? And so the answer is not, that those are uncomfortable. Those are stressful events in our lives. Well, they're stressful events in a horse's life too, and so we just want to love on them and have a good time. Well, frequently when I show up, they're not happy to see me. So,
I mean,
so that's a tough pill to swallow too, I think.
Who takes care of their teeth? Are there
horses?
Dentists?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question because horses are basically brushing their teeth at all times, eating roughage. And so they don't have like the carious or cavity lesions like we have. They have a very different tooth than the small animal teeth or our teeth. And so, the veterinarians do dentistry. That's actually what I do mostly is dentistry. It's just slowly my practice has evolved into that. But, because for the longest time, like until the 1970s, there was no way to sedate a horse safely to look in their mouth, right? And so who took care of the teeth back then? Well, it was a farrier. He would rasp on the feet and then, stand up and rasp on the teeth because they have continually elongating, continually erupting teeth. And so there was a long tradition of lay dentistry, of non-veterinarians doing dentistry. And then, we get the good drugs in the 70s and the 80s, and the veterinarians, we won in on that game. So we're relative newcomers to equine dentistry, but veterinarians take care of, and each state is different, what lay dentists are allowed to do under direct or indirect supervision. And so depending on where people are listening, they may have a lay dentist or they may only use a veterinarian. And so pros and cons to all of the above, of course.
You said they're drugs. Are they asleep while you're working on their teeth?
They're sedated, standing sedation. Yeah, so heavily sedated. They hate the dentist as much as we do, and so they are as sleepy to have their teeth worked on as they are for like painful procedures on other places in their body. And so because that's their private space. They don't want you rooting around in their mouths, and if they have a broken tooth or periodontal, it's really painful. And so they're very guarded about that. So really good drugs. That's changed a lot of how we do dentistry. And then, you'll hear people talk about, I went to England to train with a guy who was a really well-known dentist. It was a great experience. I'm an Anglophile. I love the English pub. I love James Herriot, and so I couldn't wait. I was excited. And there's a tradition of lay dentists in England, and they have a tradition of unsedated equine dentistry. And so I was like, I wonder how that works. And so I watched it for a week. This is only 1 week observation, but I saw it over and over again. If he would show up, the people would ask him politely with their lovely English accents, will you do my dentistry unsedated? And he said, oh, absolutely. And then he would put the speculum in the mouth, which is this large metal contraption that holds their mouth open so you can see in there. And then the horse would swing the speculum around and almost decapitate the owner. And then he would politely, very politely in his English accent say, maybe we could give him a spot of sedation. And they would say, yes, let's do that. And he would say, oh, brilliant, which I came to realize in England just means okay. And so, and then he would sedate the horse. So it was just an elaborate nicety of song and dance.
And just out of curiosity, since we're on the subject, so if that's not treated, would they develop tusk?
No, not true tusk, because the only teeth they have in the area where they have, which would be a tusk, is their canine, which actually is the only tooth in their mouth that is just like ours. The canine is a brachydont tooth. But what happens is, they have these, their teeth are these wonderful, amazing grinding machines, and their entire mouth is built to take in a bite of roughage and chew it and grind it and grind it and grind it. But if they have a break in that arcade, like a missing tooth or an extra tooth or periodontal disease or a fractured tooth, the tooth opposite will just continue to super erupt into that place, and that can cause a big problem. So equine dentistry has come, even from when I graduated in 2003 to now, has come so far. We've learned so much about the horse mouth, and we've really been able to improve horses' quality of life and length of life through it. So that's been one of the great things about my career. I've been very proud to be part of that, driving that knowledge base forward.
Well, okay, a broken tooth. Do you replace the tooth?
No, we just do exodontia. We remove the tooth, and we have not figured out, the idea of letting that heal and then putting in a titanium pole and then, putting an extra tooth in like you would in a human or a bridge or something. The forces created in their mouths are pretty tremendous. Who knows? Somebody may figure it out one day. There's some innovative people out there, but and that is a problem, because once you pull a tooth, now everybody else is going to drift, and then as they drift apart, you get more periodontal disease. And so, I always tell people, like, we only pull teeth when we have to, because once we do, we start a lifetime of maintenance trying to manage that.
How many teeth do they have?
They have 44 potentially, but most of them don't have the full complement, because there's a few vestigial wolf teeth. So, if you think of a horse mouth, you have the ones up front that are incisors,
right.
When they're smiling at you. And then male horses have the canines, which are made for fighting, and biting you. And then behind that, they have their premolars and molars. Those are the big grinding teeth. Those are the workhorses of the mouth. And so you can't even see those. Even if you pull the horse's cheek to the back a little bit, you can't see them. They're behind where their cheek opening is, and go all the way back underneath their eye. Their entire head is just one big grain and hay and grass threshing machine. So.
Have you ever worked on the hoofs of horses?
We do a lot with the hoofs of them because it's such a vital component. That is not where my focus has been the last decade or so. But yeah, if you're a horse vet, you're a hoof vet. You're working on.
You have to learn. Do you have to know how to be a farrier then?
No, that's a good question. Very few veterinarians are trained in good trimming and farrier. We know the rudimentary things. We definitely need to know like how the structure of the bony column works to be able to communicate and work with a farrier and show them radiographs and discuss what may need to be changed. But it's an oddball veterinarian who can shoot the radiograph and then trim the foot and place the shoe themselves. They're out there. There certainly are. There's some people that are really well known for that, and they have a following. But most of us, no, we don't. I would not hand me a shoe and a set of nails and ask me to shoe a horse. Mostly because those guys work hard. I mean, that is hard work.
Yeah,
that is stoop labor. Don't ever mess with a farrier. They could beat you, and they could beat you all day long and not get tired.
Yeah, they have a special kind of truck too that I notice around here in the farrier trucks.
We have some great farrier. I'll give a shout out. We have a very famous farrier in our area. Austin Edens is his name, and he well known in the farrier community. If any of your listeners or horse people know that name, and a lot of respect for farriers. They're fascinating people because they they have to have like a 3-part, like this combination of skills. Like, yeah, they have to be physically really strong to do their job. They also have to have like a mechanical aptitude, ability to work with metals and tools and understand angles and all that. But there's an artistic component of it too. And, that overlap of a mechanic and an artist is not a common one. So if anybody out there has a horse and you have a good farrier, be nice to them, pay them on time, and catch your horses for them.
Don't get into a fight with them.
That don't cause no trouble. And also, veterinarians are famous for getting into it with farriers because we think we know what needs to be done and all that. I never wanted to take that track. It's like, let's work together because I can't do your job. Let's figure it out.
I've heard the people here in Wellington say if something goes wrong, you always blame the farrier.
Oh, always, yeah. They take the brunt of it, which is the foolish thing to do. No horse, no hoof, no horse is a common thing.
Yeah. So
go ahead. I have a question about when a horse is pregnant. Is anything? How is it treated during its pregnancy? Is there anything special they do?
Right, for sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need to do some feed changes and everything like that, and we decrease their exercise. And most of horse pregnancies are not just live cover or like the stallion. So the vet was involved from the get go. We were involved in artificial insemination, or in the thoroughbred racing world, it's they have to be live cover. That way that stallion can only breed one mare a day. And so they kind of spread the gene pool out, I think was the idea. But even then, the veterinarian is intimately involved in the cycling of the mare and making sure timing is right and all that. And then doing pregnancy checks too. And so then once they're pregnant, they have to be vaccinated. There's a equine herpes virus that causes abortion in the horse. So they have to get vaccinated for that. And then, all the usual health checks and all the pre stuff. Yeah.
What about that drug that people were taking for COVID that's a horse struggle?
Oh, yeah. Ivermectin.
I remember that.
You involved in that?
No, well, people ask me about it. It's interesting. I don't know. Long before COVID came along, I remember running into people that had a family member that had cancer that was not being treated well, and they found some quack somewhere that was treating them with ivermectin. And so I don't know why ivermectin is always the drug that they reach for, what they're fired up about with it. But, it is an anti-parasitic. Ivermectin's an interesting drug because it came out before I graduated, like 15 years before. But it changed equine medicine forever because there was this horrible parasite that would cause a really terrible kind of colic in a horse, and it basically eradicated that parasite. Wow. And so ivermectin is a wonder drug for horses, but for parasite control, and why are we using an anti-parasitic for viruses? I have no idea. I don't know what, sometimes you look at the world and you're like...
people who took ivermectin, remember, Rob, for COVID?
Right next door.
Well, yeah, them.
I can't figure out how to make this joke hit every time. Sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't. But I have a joke that I've tried where it's like, if you want me to sell you ivermectin after the show, come meet me. I will write you a prescription for a library card.
But to be clear, it's not just a equine medicine. It has been used. There is a human dosage of this drug that has been used and actually won I believe a Peace Prize for that for dealing with as an anti-parasitic. Yeah, so don't diminish how it's used on people just because of COVID. So there you go.
No, it plays a vital role for parasitemia, not for a virus and not for neoplasia. So yeah.
So one of the veterinarian practices I've heard about here in Wellington that is used is acupuncture for horses. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we're open to it. One of my partner got acupuncture certified. There was a little bit of data to support its use in back pain in the horse. Back pain is, it's hard to treat in all of our backs hurt, all mammals. But I've always tried really hard to practice evidence-based medicine, kind of take a, prove it to me state. And there's not a lot of good hard data on a lot of that acupuncture. And so we used it in that as a modality to treat sore backs in horses, and it still comes up in our practice. But I never got to the point where I was going to try to treat a tooth abscess or a colicky horse with it. And so that, that's probably, I land further on the Western side of medicine than that. And same with chiropractics. It's like, y'all say it's great, but let's just have some peer-reviewed study. This is always what I'm after. So,
What
We had,
go ahead, Rob.
yeah, we had an incident here a few years ago on at the polo stadium. 15 polo horses just before a match just collapsed dead, fell right
Wow.
over one after another, and it was pretty shocking. It turned out that it was an accidental overdose of all the horses in vitamins. It just I can't like 10 times too much, or they read the prescription wrong or whatever, and it just killed them all. It was really shocking.
Well, yeah, I don't know the specifics on that case, so I can't speak to it, but I do know that people in competition frequently are giving their horses something that they shouldn't be, trying to get an edge in competition. If there's one thing I'm not crazy about that I would love to speak to, is like, what, you love these animals, that's why you're doing it, that's why you got involved. So don't hurt them just so you can win. Just love them well, take care of them. Don't do that. Don't kill 15 horses so you can win a polo match against another.
And also the jumper is going 6-7 feet. That's pretty hard on the horses too. Going.
Yeah, it is. You have to be smart about it, just like you would with a human athlete, right? So you need to limit reps, and we work really hard with our human athletes to manage, stress loads and all that. And so they do with horses. Good trainers are watching that for sure.
Yeah.
I'll have to find a copy of that article and send it to you, Matt.
Yeah, let me
About
know.
these 15 horses. Exactly what the vitamin was.
Right. Yeah. So have you killed it? So have you killed any horses?
Oh my goodness! Right to the point with Rob. Yeah. That's the part of the job I don't like. I've killed so many horses. I've had to euthanize so many horses.
Yeah. Right.
That must be heartbreaking.
It is. It's kind of a never-ending stress and sadness to be involved with those cases. So, there's certainly times when the other option is to prolong life that doesn't have quality in it, and so we do. It is a responsibility and a privilege to be able to end suffering. So, but it doesn't come lightly.
I don't think people get as attached to their horses as they do to dogs. So am I right about that?
I think it's a different attachment.
Yeah.
That's it.
They don't live in your house and they don't sleep in your bed, but they live so much longer. And then another thing that I never discount, I always try to remind, they work together. And some people have working dogs, but like there's a real bond in that competition that they're teammates, and so that those bonds are powerful.
Yeah.
Did you ever cry when you had to put down a horse? I don't think.
I don't think I ever did in front of a client. I always reminded myself that was their relationship. That was that was not my privilege to take on that level of emotion.
That'd be awful.
But definitely, sad times afterwards. Cried out of frustration. I'm an easy crier, but it's happily for me, it's when I'm happy or proud, not when I'm sad or frustrated. So I'm an easy weeper, but not in those situations.
So that would be one of the impacts of being a horse vet.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a toll. We have veterinarians have one of the highest suicide rates of any profession in the nation.
Jeez.
They do, yeah, and so we're under a lot of stress, and it takes an emotional toll. There's compassion fatigue and burnout, and so So one of the things I hope to do with this book and promoting it is I'm going to go to every vet school I possibly can. I'm working on building it out now, and I'm going to talk about overcoming imposter syndrome, which is what I overcame, using humor. And so it's been really fun for me as I've kind of put this lecture together, and through synchronicity ran into amazing people. Like I was on a show with a writer in Austin. It was a writer comedy show. I did a good job. He messaged his friend, who's a comic, and said, "Hey, I was on a show with this comedian. He did a great job." Just a nice thing to do. Turns out that friend he messaged is a guy named Paul Ozenkup, who is a corporate speaker. He talks about using humor in the workplace, and he's written a book about the power of humor. And so I read that book, and it was like, oh, all of a sudden it made sense how important humor has been in my journey. And so like the power of humor to help us overcome these really hard times, like and what it does to our brains when we're laughing together. We're sharing dopamine and serotonin and endorphins. And that quiets down all the stress, all the cortisol, and so. I can't wait to go talk to veterinary students about that and share that, because I think humor was vital to my journey, to believe that I could have painful things and see the funny side of them. But everybody can do that. It's a muscle that we can all build, right?
Well, I think that's great. You're going to go around to vet schools.
Yeah, I'm excited
Is that
about
what this
it.
publicist is going to help you do?
Yeah, they're going to help me get into those, and so I've done a lot of that work on my own. I have, of course, a large network of colleagues, so I've been out there beating the bricks and telling them, and I just want to get in front of the students, and I'd love to find some sponsor or partner to buy books for all the students. I would love to do there's a self-serving part of this too. I think the book is good, and it's if I can get it in enough hands, it'll start to be passed around. So I'm trying to move my book, but also it really surprised me how I think I have something meaningful to share with them.
So have you been a mentor for any new vets just coming into the field and worked with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my practice, Austin Equine, we started hiring new graduate interns. So an intern in equine, or in the veterinary world, is somebody who's graduated from vet school. They've got a doctorate, they have a license, they could do whatever they wanted, but they've chosen to spend 1 year at a practice being trained. So we started that in 2010, and since then we've had 24 interns. So I've seen that process a few times.
Jeez. Are they all Texas vets?
No, we get them from all over. The equine world is, it's a small community. Like even our big meeting, that's 5,000 veterinarians. So that it's, and so we've had vet students from, let's see, everywhere, University of Minnesota and Tufts and Florida and all up and down California and, Kansas State, every which way, and definitely from A&M, but we get them from all over. So what happens is, in their fourth year of vet school, they get these periods, they're called externships. They can go visit a veterinary clinic. And so they'll come spend 2 weeks with us. And it's basically like a little date for everybody. It's a work date, They're trying us out and we're trying them out, and they visit 10 practices and we have 100 externs. And then we try to match at the end of the year and see who's going to work with us for the next year.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm actually taking a sabbatical to go and to do this vet school talking tour and the book tour and everything. And the thing that hit me the most that I'm going to miss was I realized I'm not going to be part of this year's interns experience. Because it's a little bit of magic to get to help somebody start off like that. Yeah.
So when you're in college studying to be a vet, where does it split off from being a human doctor to an animal doctor? Is there some certain point? Yeah. After undergrad, so everybody's taking the same stuff. My organic chemistry class at Texas A&M was probably full of, veterinarians, dentists, and physicians equally. Yeah, right.
and then people who are going to fail and become none of the three of those.
Right. So it's after that you get into vet school and it splits off from.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so, I actually thought about, I was like, I don't know if I would like to work on people or not. I spent one day at a pediatrician's office on a Saturday, which was nice. They let me shadow, and it was a fine day, and I thought this will be fine. And then the last patient of the day was a little boy that had something wrong with his penis, and I said, I'm not doing this for a living. So that was a very informative Saturday. I came home and told my parents, like, I think I'm going to go to vet school.
But
easier.
But I don't know if it's easier.
No, I'm just saying a lot easier to deal with an animal penis than a little boy's penis.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So but it's about the same number of years, isn't it, of study?
Right. So undergrad's the same, and then the length of study is the same. So 4 years for veterinary school. I think the big difference is that that after period where you can choose to do an internship as a veterinarian, or you could just go out and go to work. And then and then we have 2 board certified surgeons in our practice. They did an internship and then a 3-year residency training program in surgery. And so they did an extra, but I think that's pretty much standard for most physicians. They've done they've done some type of internship residency, and then they usually have done some kind of fellowship too. I think that you go see your dermatologist or whatever. They did a lot of postdoctorate training that a veterinarian wouldn't have done. So
yeah. So do you have any favorite television shows or movies about horses?
Oh gosh, but I mean, you can't beat All Creatures Great and Small. That show is so well done. The new one on PBS is so well done that when I was in the thick of working, when I was on call, I couldn't watch it. If I was on call, it would make my stress level go up. Watching him work with those cases, like I can't do it. I'm going to do this on my own later tonight. I can't watch him do it too. That's so unbelievably well done.
Yeah. Well, there's one show about a horse that's probably maybe a little before your time, but I'm sure Trish and I can remember. There's about a talking horse named Mr. Ed.
Yeah, thanks to the power of Nick at Night. I know Mr. Ed. I love it. Of course, I can't remember any of those episodes. I bet they were pretty hacky, but I bet it was a lot of fun.
I can't remember him either. I just remember the horse. He was such a
I just remember the horse talking.
If there's anybody in your audience as a TV producer, I want to produce like a mashup of Mr. Ed and Doogie Howser. I want a horse who's a doctor.
You'll need to invest into a lot of peanut butter, apparently. Is what I understand. Is that's how they got Mr. Ed to talk?
Yeah, it turns out it wasn't a talking horse. Yeah.
Peanut butter really helped.
I would love it. I think they made a movie about with Bobcat Goldthwait, but I don't know. I think it fell flat. But yeah, I can't get enough of talking horses. I love it.
With AI, any horse can talk.
That's right. Yeah. Well, Trish knows I'm working on a fiction where there's a horse who talks through telepathy.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't have that ready for market yet, but I'm working on it.
That I really want to read. I just finished a book where I have 3 dogs who are telepathic and who communicate.
You wrote that, Trish?
Yeah.
Awesome. I can't wait to read that. Yeah, I love it. I think that horses are really funny animals. I genuinely do. They're herd animals, and so they communicate really well through body language. And I think humor and playfulness and that kind of gesture behavior is a real thing in the horse. So I think I think if we could hear them talk, they would say the best darn stuff.
Yeah.
So
Matt, go ahead.
Does your editor? Oh, you're writing this fiction.
Yeah, and I've pitched it to Paula, and she gave me some feedback. So yeah, we're working on it. Yeah, I put it to the side. I'm writing. I hope to turn Chomping at the Bit into like a 3-part trilogy, kind of James Herriot, absolutely James Herriot. So I'm working on book 2 of that. So I'm writing veterinary stories again right now. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's cool.
So I learned one thing from you, maybe more than one thing, but one particular thing that clarified something for me tonight, and that it doesn't have anything to do with horses though, or comedy actually, but it's when you mentioned that somebody you were speaking to a British person using the word brilliant, and you said you understand now that it means okay, which clarifies something for me, because I freelance writer and a ghostwriter. I had one client who would often respond to me, say brilliant, and I thought he was being cynical, and now I understand he was just saying okay.
No, he was like that. He's like, that's acceptable. Genius means the same thing, by the way, depending on what English person you get a hold of. Genius, like, yeah, okay.
How do you get over brilliant? I mean, what is beyond brilliant?
Yeah. I don't, the brilliant, I think the English people, if they tell you that you're doing okay, that's as nice as they're going to be.
That's about it. Yeah. Well, and just aren't great fans of themselves. So, yeah.
I love the British sense of humor. That I enjoyed writing with that guy, that dry, just a one-off comment, no fanfare, just hilarious, so good.
Obviously, and certainly you must have grown up watching Monty Python and
absolutely.
My favorite sitcom ever is Fawlty Towers. Yeah. So
absolutely. Yeah. Massive humor.
You have any more stand-up comedy things planned coming up?
Yeah, I have a few coming up on the schedule. I do. I've got a group. We do clean shows together, and so we end up getting booked at all kind of apartment complexes and then retirement homes and that kind of thing. So we've got, I think, 4 of those shows coming up, and then it's been fun. I've made I work clean. Not that I am against people cussing or talking about sex interact, but nobody wants to hear me talk about that. So I've run into a lot of comics in Austin who work the same way. So we end up booking each other on gigs. Okay. So it's a lot of fun. I've got a few of those. One of the things I'm going to do, and this is going to be harder sledding, but when I come to a town, when I say go to, College Station, Texas to speak at Texas A&M, I want to try to find somewhere to book out my own, comedy show, do a free comedy show that's clean that people can come to. And then that way, that'd be another way to promote the book, and also just get to do stand-up comedy when I'm on the road. Kind of make your own way, but it's gonna require a lot of legwork because what I got to do is find somebody to host that, and
we got to find you something in Wellington during the horse season.
Well, I would love to. I think that would be really wonderful because people were really down there when January and February. Is that
right?
Yeah,
through about April.
Well, my current plan is I'm doing like A&M. I'm doing like Middle America this year, and then I have a contact in Canada. I'm going to do some shows in Canada. But then early in the spring, my plan is to do the Southeast vet schools. So, Florida, University of Florida in Orlando, Mississippi State, Auburn, so LSU. So it would be, once I'm over there, I would love to come and do something, and maybe I'll reach out to you guys, and maybe we could think, maybe we'll do it at that.
We have tons of
I would love it.
And we have a dog and 4 cats.
I see some of the cats back there.
Yeah, I know. One of them likes to come in here and knock stuff off the shelf.
In Wellington here, we have an amphitheater, and in the winter especially, I think it's every Thursdays, or maybe Thursday and Friday, they have cover bands that play there. And one of the interesting ones this past season was a cover band for Billy Joel. And what happens is Billy Joel's in the audience, and he comes up on stage and does 3 songs. He's people didn't know it was him at first, but he's this old guy with a cane, and a hat. but it was him. Yeah.
So did y'all watch his documentary? Did y'all see that?
No, I don't think so.
It was a good watch. I'm not a huge music fan. I'm not over the top, but I stumbled upon it. It was a really compelling. He has an interesting life.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Anyhow, I mentioned that amphitheater. That would be a good one to
Okay.
Do something before a band plays.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, I got an animal here who needs some attention. I think we're about done with our hour here.
Okay,
great having you.
Yeah,
here,
great having you, Matt. I'll send you the link when John decides to put this up, John.
Well, that's some decision, but yeah, you're first in the hopper.
Oh,
Excellent.
Sounds good.
Well, yeah, and I'll repost it and share it around. So it's so much fun to talk to you. I feel like we worked. You helped me so much with my book that
I just love your book. I mean, thank you. And I would love to have you here. Let's keep that.
Okay, we'll keep working on it. I think it'll work out.
Looking forward to your fiction too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep working on it. I like that. I need that support.
Okay.
All right.
Great to see you.
Take care.
Y'all have a good evening.
Yeah. Good night. Bye.